Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the Scott Garibay's list of the top 10 new tabletop role-playing games of 2018. All right, so we had a really nice year in tabletop role-playing games overall. We really are in a golden age. We have just lots of great games coming out. But today I'm going to talk about the top tabletop role-playing games of 2018. But there is a criteria for this list. So here's the criteria. All right, this is a new tabletop role-playing game, which means that there was a core rulebook published within 2018 that had not been previously published. So no +1 editions. So no, 4E to 5E. That if you did a 2E this year, you're not getting on the list. That's just an edition iteration. This is new tabletop role-playing games, not new versions, right? Also, no source books, right? So these are new worlds, new rules, all the cool stuff that comes with new core rule books that does not come with source books, okay? So with that, let's jump into the list. All right, number 10, and this goes from worst to best, number 1 being the best and number 10 being the worst on the list, but still, it made the list, so it's fairly good. All right, okay. All right, so let's talk about it. Number 10, Infinity, which is a tabletop role-playing game based on the Infinity miniatures battle game, okay? And also the Infinity TRPG was published by Modifius, all right? Now let's talk about Infinity for a minute. So Infinity is a direct competitor to Warhammer. So the miniatures game, Infinity, is a direct competitor to Warhammer. It's a little more it's a little more like Warhammer 40K is like far in the future, and Infinity is very similar in many ways. It's a miniatures war game, but it's a unique world, right? And I've been a long time being a fan of the miniatures war game, and they were like, and a lot of miniatures war games are figuring this out. Like, they're like, we already did all this world building, we might as well put out a tabletop role-playing game. And I love these because it lets you play in, because like miniatures war games can tell narratives, but they do it even more slowly than tabletop role-playing games, right? And tabletop role-playing games allow you to tell stories more quickly in these games. Now the problem is these games are still very, very crunchy. I wish an Infinity TRPG by Modifius, very, very crunchy. I wish it was a little more on the fluff side, but I really dug this book. It was beautifully illustrated, great layout. Modifius is knocking it out of the park. They build beautiful hardback books. Their content is very high level, fantastic layout, fantastic art, fantastic writing. Also, just want to call out, Modifius has 2 books on this list. There were only one of 2 publishers that had more than 1 game on this list. Modifius is really coming up. They're an international publisher, and they are really going for the throat at American publishers. They really are. Really, so like to the point where, it's like Ubisoft. Ubisoft is a great video game creator. They're not an American game creator, but they really do compete head-to-head with American video game creators. So, I would say that Modifius is like the Ubisoft of tabletop role-playing games, all right? Number 9 on my list, Torg Eternity, published by Paizo, the same people who make Pathfinder. All right, now, I can hear you. You're like, wait, Torg? Didn't that game come out before? It did, right? But Torg Eternity, so Torg was the original tabletop role-playing game. This is Torg Eternity. Why is it on this list? Why is it not just a new edition? Well, that's all you need to do to make a new tabletop role-playing game, is just add a word to your title, right? But the reality is Torg Eternity is a different world, right? They have changed so it takes great inspiration from the original Torg. It is an homage to the original Torg, but it's not a 2E. It's not a +1 iteration. Torg Eternity is its own unique game, and there's enough change in it to say this is a new game, right? It's based in the same world setting. Perfect example of this is Star Wars Edge of the Empires, Star Wars Force of Destiny, Star Wars Age of Rebellion. They're all in the same world, but they are all freestanding core rulebooks that you can buy separately. Torg and Torg Eternity stand separately. I'm a huge fan of Torg. Many people might not be aware of Torg. Torg is a multi-cosmos game, but it also uses cards. And Torg Eternity is a fantastic new rebirth of that game, and it is its own unique game. Also, I'm really proud of Paizo for picking this up. Torg is a much beloved old game, and so people would, so it already had a built-in audience. Not a huge one, but it had one. Some of the cosmoses in Torg are like the cyber papacy, just really crazy, weird stuff. Torg is a delightfully strange and unique game, and I love it. And Torg Eternity is number 9 on my top 10 best new tabletop role-playing games of 2018. Next is Kids on Bikes by Renegade Game Studios. By the way, Renegade Game Studios has 2 books on this list. They're the only other publisher to get 2 books on the top 10. Renegade Game Studios I really love them. I think they're doing a tremendous job. They make board games, and then as a side hustle, they got a TRPG like track, and I'm so thankful that they do. They just do beautiful work on these games. I'm going to do some complaining about Kids on Bikes, even though it's number 8 on the list, because I feel so strongly about this next subject. And yeah, I'm just going to go there. All right, so Kids on Bikes was the game I was absolutely most excited to see in 2018, in 2017. I just could not wait for it, because Kids on Bikes was supposed to be, hey, you can play Stranger Things in a tabletop role-playing game, even though there's never going to be a Stranger Things TRPG license. It's unlikely. It should have happened already, but there hasn't been, right? So Kids on Bikes, I was like, bunny hops and banana seats, I'm in, man. Let's do this. And I was so excited for this game, right? Well, the designers made this thing super, super indie, and I think they made an absolutely critical, fundamental mistake in this game. And they baked Session Zero into the game, and it's all over the game. So Session Zero is baked right into the game. Now, I have strong opinions on Session Zero. I absolutely hate Session Zero. I think it's a committee to have a tabletop role-playing game campaign. I think they slow down the game. They're absolutely horrible. I'm the only TRPG commentator on YouTube saying this. I absolutely detest Session Zero, okay? Now, most designers have the good respect to take Session Zero and leave it external to the game. Anybody who wants to can bolt on a Session Zero to any game master can have a Session Zero. There is absolutely no reason to bake it into your game. And here's the issue: because it's baked into the rules and all throughout the rule book of Kids on Bikes, you cannot really play the game with and ignore the Session Zero part, because it's baked into the mechanics, right? Now, this gets strange, right? So, like, I'm a huge fan of the X card. I think the X card is a very, very good idea. But the thing is, the X card should not be put into any tabletop role-playing game, nor should Session Zero be put into any tabletop role-playing game. These are things that you can add on to your tabletop role-playing game, and they should be considered for every single tabletop role-playing game on the planet, right? So basically, good game masters learn about these, and then you say, we are using the X card in this game, right? But the reality is, the X card is, it really doesn't have anything to do with any tabletop role-playing games. It has to do with every tabletop role-playing game. And so it should be like, it's already done. It exists on 4 different websites, and you just take it out and you put in the latest version onto your game. Session Zero is the exact same thing. And I'm sorry to go on so long about this, but the reason why I'm going on so long about this is Kids on Bikes would be number 1 on this list if it did not contain Session Zero. Session Zero is horrible. I am the kryptonite to Session Zero. I hate it and want it dead, and I really think that is the worst design element in tabletop role-playing games that has captured the fancy of many designers, and in my opinion, it darn near ruined Kids on Bikes. And honestly, I bought Kids on Bikes, I read Kids on Bikes, I refuse to play it because I'm not sitting down and having 4 players tell me how to run a game, right? It's just, I'm not going to do it, right? And so, Session Zero drives me bananas. Thank you very much for that side rant there. I apologize. I just hate Session Zero so much, and I shed crocodile tears over what it did to Kids on Bikes, because I think Kids on Bikes could have been such a beautiful game, and I can't play it because it contains Session Zero, and it drives me crazy. But I'm proud to have it in my collection, and and I desperately wish somebody will we'll see what happens. I don't know where that's going to go. I just, like, it was the one thing that had so much potential and fell so far down on the list. But I'm glad it was made, and I'm glad some people can play Stranger Things now. I can't, but I'm still glad for the people who can. All right. Game number 7 is Beach Patrol by Gallant Knight Games. Beach Patrol is a fun little game. It's about 60 pages long, and it's just wonderful. I really love it. Beach Patrol is essentially Baywatch turned into a tabletop role-playing game. And Beach Patrol is literally a tabletop role-playing game about playing lifeguards. That's it. It's the whole game, man. And I love it. I think it's really, really fun. And Gallant Knight Games makes Tiny Dungeon 2E, which is one of the best games on the planet. And Beach Patrol is them flexing and showing their range. And also, one of the reasons why I love Beach Patrol so much is I love this idea that anything can be a tabletop role-playing game. Like, that there really are no limits on the worlds that we can create and have fun in. And I love that there is literally a lifeguard, tabletop role-playing game. It's wonderful. One of the most fun, delightful games of 2018. All right, next is Iron Sworn. That's number 6 on my list, is Iron Sworn by Sean Tompkin. This game is the most garage band of any of the games on my list. Sean Tompkin, I think he has some other people working on this game, but like, here's how you can tell this is GarageBand. Like every other game, I'm like, this is Paizo, this is Renegade Game Studios, this is Gallant Knight Games, right? Iron Sworn, where it lists its publisher, it's just Sean Tompkin. Like, what is its name, right? But it is ridiculously good. Iron Sworn is a super awesome Viking tabletop role-playing game. And the thing I really love about it is it's a good, solid game. It's really fun. It plays really well. But the thing that's really super cool about it is its layout and what it accomplishes with black and white. Not every studio has a lot of money. We have taken for granted that every single game has to be color, right? And Iron Sworn is black and white, and I love that it's black and white. It is beautifully illustrated, and it has the best black and white use of black and white in a TRPG, and the best layout I've ever seen in a small press game. Iron Sworn just does a lot with a little, and it is very high. It's number 6 on my list. I love Iron Sworn. I really think it's one of the strongest, best games of 2018. Really check out Iron Sworn. And get this, Iron Sworn is free. You can get it for nothing today, which that makes it super awesome, like, of course. And because I also love, like, it's another thing that I love about free games is I got bank. I'm very blessed. I work in tech. I've worked in tech for a long time. I have 2 degrees, and I can buy any tabletop role-playing game on the market that I want, except for Invisible Sun Black Cube, which is out of print, and it costs $250. I have the money to buy it, but I can't buy it because it's not in print. That's a side note. But the reality is not everybody has money, right? And not everybody has money to just be getting role-playing games willy-nilly. So I think it's super, super important that some of the games in the world are free. And so Fate is free, and it's pay what you want. But actually, this is really strange, but Iron Sworn is not even pay what it wants. It's like literally like $1. Now you can give him money, but like he even makes it so it's listed as free. Like it's $0. It's crazy, and I just love Iron Sworn. It's one of my favorite. It's a great game of 2018. It was one of the most wonderful things there. All right, number 5 on my list is Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is a tabletop role-playing game based on a video game. And Elite Dangerous is you're gonna create a space fighter, a starfighter, and you're going to fly it around the galaxy, and you're going to shoot other starfighters down, right? It's a pretty cool video game. It's super crunchy video game, and they made it into a super crunchy tabletop role-playing game, and Modifius printed it, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book, great art, great writing, great layout, really fantastic. I don't like video games, and generally I don't like video game tabletop role-playing games, but the reality is my beef with video games is not strong enough to not see that Elite Dangerous is absolutely gorgeous and incredibly well executed tabletop role-playing game, and also the subject matter is right down my alley, man. You know, I definitely want to be a starfighter, a starfighter who, you know, puts additional mods on his starfighter and goes out and shoots other starfighters. It's like X-Wing disconnected from Star Wars. It's just awesome, and it's really super cool, and it is super fun, and I think it's really just a wonderful addition to our 2018 tabletop role-playing, to the role-playing game world. All right, that's number 5, Elite Dangerous by Modifius. That's Modifius' second entry on the list. Number 4 is Forbidden Lands by Free League. So Forbidden Lands is specifically a new Dungeons & Dragons, right? By an international publisher. Free League is not an American publisher, and I'll tell you, the international TRPG publishers are coming for America. They really are. They're stepping up their game. Forbidden Lands is really cool. Now, in many ways, I think it's a little bit, I have mixed feelings on this. Forgotten Lands is just Forbidden Lands. Sorry, Forbidden Lands is just another Dungeons & Dragons. It's a basic fantasy game with different rules, right? And also, I love this part. The publishers were like, you don't have to be a king's liege, and you don't have to have somebody tell you what you're going to go do. You're a freestanding merc, right? You're a freestanding adventurer who does what they want. And I'm like, do you think that not everybody already plays Dungeons & Dragons that way? That's not a new thing. That's already, that's already baked into Dungeons & Dragons. But the reality is, it's, again, beautiful art, beautiful layout, really interesting writing. And the other thing is just a well-executed fantasy tabletop role-playing game. And I think we're always going to have new Dungeons & Dragons, even though we don't need them. We're going to have just every single year or two, there's going to be a new, basic fantasy tabletop role-playing game with a new rule set, even though it is totally not needed. Because I wish that we were doing more, like let's create cooler worlds or whatever. But this is really, in my opinion, it's a slight spin on D&D, but it is really a beautifully executed tabletop role-playing game, and it also carries the banner for international publishers saying, pay attention, there's some amazing international games out there. Simba Room, one of the best games I've ever seen that published before 2018. Just calling it out real quick, I love Simba Room. And I really love Forbidden Lands. It's a really cool new game. Number 3 on my list, Scum and Villainy by Evil Hat. This is a Star Wars, a skinned Star Wars, right? With, get it, check it, this is awesome, Blades in the Dark rules, all right? So this is, Scum and Villainy is launching Blades in the Dark rule set into System Series, saying the rules in Blades in the Dark are so beautiful and so beautiful and so elegant that new core rule books will be based upon its rules. So this creator created a new world, created no new rules, and just took that V8 out of their Mustang and put it into this Camaro, right? That the rules is just being picked up, transplanted, put right into Scum and Villainy. John Harper is an absolute genius. I think he's one of the best designers in the world, and he's one of the most important designers right now because I think his work is going to massively impact Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. And so Scum and Villainy, number 3 on my list. Super happy with that game. It's done by Evil Hat, and it's nice to see Evil Hat this high on the list. All right, number 2, Mecha Hack by Absolute Tabletop. This game is 40 pages long. It is, hey, here's the rule. Here's the Black Hack taking the Black Hack rules. So it uses the Black Hack rules engine and allows you to play any robot game. I used it this year to run BattleTech. You can run Voltron with it. You can run, you can run DreamPod 9s, Heavy Gear. And if it has robots, you can use Mecha Hack to do it. It is an absolute monster in design. It is so well executed, and it is the strongest example this year that page count, size doesn't matter. If you think size does, you're wrong. Size doesn't matter. There is more done in the 40 pages of Mecha Hack than there is in, Forbidden Land, Elite Dangerous, Iron Sworn, Kids on Bikes isn't that long, Torg Eternity. It is, Matt Click wrote it. It's just gorgeous, and it says you can do a lot with a few pages. And the reason why few page count is important is because you could bring anybody to it. It is hard. It's hard to come to I'm going to say it, just a regular base standard human and say, read this 300 pages of rules and then play this game with me. That's a hard sell. We take that for granted in this hobby, and it is a ridiculously hard sell. And I really desperately want every tabletop role-playing game on the planet to be under 99 pages. And the reason why is I think it will double or triple or even tenfold increase the number of people who are willing to play these games with us. And I think that's better than having these super crunchy 300-page, 400-page, 500-page monsters. Okay, number one on my list, number one with a bullet, best game of the year, Overlight by Renegade Game Studios. Second Renegade Game Studios won Kids on Bikes and Overlight. Renegade Games Studio gave a lot of love to tabletop role-playing games this year, treated these two games with respect, poured their money and their time and their attention. Overlight is absolutely gorgeous. Overlight is fantasy with getting rid of with a complete expulsion, sending out of the airlock of J.R.R. Tolkien. Everything that J.R.R. Tolkien put into fantasy is removed from Overlight, and it is Overlight saying, let's talk about every culture in the world. Let's talk about light. Let's talk about emotion. And it is literally beautiful because it's like a rainbow theme, and it talks about light as a force of life and a force of nature and a force of politics. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. Overlight is the very best new tabletop role-playing game of 2018. I own this book in physical hardback. I rub it against my face every day or two. I love this game. The reading of it was beautiful. The playing of it was beautiful. I love this game, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. I think this is worth your dollars to buy in the physical form. It's really, really wonderful. Great writing, great layout. There could have been better art in it, but that's okay. It is so awesome, and it really is the best game of 2018. That's what I think are the best new tabletop role-playing games of 2018. Where am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful day. Take care.